Hey guys, you may notice this video looks a little different, and that's because I'm here with my friend Armando. We're making a special video talking about our overrated filmmaking gear, that stuff that we may think is a little overhyped, but right before this, we just recorded a video talking about our underrated filmmaking gear. What'd we do on that?
Underrated gear, so it's gear that we believe deserves a bit more recognition.
Yes.
Gear that a lot of people are not really talking about. Now, on the flip side, now we're going to talk about overrated gear that we feel people are talking too much about or is just overrated. So.
Exactly. Be sure you go to the description, check out that video. Without further ado, let's talk about number one, probably my personal, not necessarily favorite, but my biggest complaint, the Gorilla Pod. You hear all the vloggers, Casey Neistat, the vlog king himself, using the Gorilla Pod. Here's the thing, they wear out over time. After about a week, they get to be really flimsy and your camera falls over. We've all seen the montage of Casey Neistat's camera crashes. It's not fun. And most of those are because of the freaking Gorilla Pods. You have used them, right?
I've used several because they break. And when you look at it on paper, it looks great. Like, oh man, this looks great. I can mount it from a tree and I can put it in different places, which yes, you can, but when you put it in practical use, it's not that great. I mean, it's too much finagling to get it right, and I just don't like it, personally.
It's
overrated.
Exactly. I use the Manfrotto Pixie Evo.
I like that one.
It's a solid tripod. There's also the Switch Pod. He made a video on that. You really gotta go and check it out. That thing's dope. I'll have that link down in the description below too. But these are tripods that are actually steady and locked. They're not gonna fall over, you're not gonna break your camera, and they're gonna actually last you. This is something where I recommend you can definitely save your money on. Don't go with the Gorilla Pod, unless maybe you live in the jungle and you're always putting your camera on trees. Next up, what do you have for us?
UV filters. Oh my gosh, this one's funny because every time I see it, like the Amazon deals, right? They put this package together. They usually throw in like a camera bag that's like really cheesy.
Kind of sounds like a Best Buy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the upsell, right? So here's the thing. What trips me out is when you see someone use a $2,000, $3,000 lens, and they put this $5 UV filter. Like, you do realize you are diminishing the quality of that amazing lens. Not to mention, whenever you have, like, for example, the sun or a particular light hit the lens element, and all of a sudden now, well, not really the element, the actual filter, you start to see these weird artifacts, and it's just like, why? Now, before you tell me, Armando, you want to protect your glass, like, I've had a lens fall, and it was because of the UV filter that saved me. I would say to you, buy insurance. You should definitely pick up insurance. I mean, UV filters really don't help out almost at all. You're better off putting a different type, like an ND filter thread on. Okay, that's a little different.
It actually has a function.
Right, but UV filter, especially if you're gonna spend like $2 on it, or if you get the free one, just don't do it, don't do it.
Next up, what do we have? Moment lenses. Ooh. Honestly, I think Moment is doing some pretty dope stuff. They're being innovative, different, and you can do some cool stuff with their products. But here's the thing. I feel like everyone's talking like if you're a filmmaker, you have to have Moment lenses.
I agree.
It's not the case. For me personally, having just a basic phone in my pocket that I can whip out, take a picture, do whatever, I don't have to worry about attaching a lens to it. It kind of defeats the purpose of being, the whole argument with, well, the best camera is the camera you always have with you. The thing is, if I have to attach a lens to it every time, it defeats the purpose. It's kind of like counterintuitive, you know?
I think for me, I am not a fan of that anamorphic. I mean, I've seen people use it. I've seen videos, by the way. But like yourself, I'm not bashing Moment. I think that one thing I do like about Moment that I will say is that they really embrace the smaller filmmaker, which I think a lot of companies still out there don't do. So I do appreciate that, and I do like innovative products. But for me, like, the whole streak, the anamorphic, just seems really gimmicky, and I agree. It seems a little bit more overhyped than in real practical use.
Exactly. Like, if you're gonna be shooting anamorphic on a smartphone, now you gotta de-stretch it. I don't know. In my opinion, I think that defeats the purpose. Again, they're making cool stuff.
Right.
But for me, a smartphone, quick, easy, straightforward. That's all I want my smartphone videography to be about. And Moment kind of is a little counterintuitive if you think about it. What do you have next, Armando?
So, Here's one. Now, I'm not going to say that this particular product or this type of category of product is useless. Obviously, it's useful, but I see a lot of people buy them just because it makes your camera look cooler, or, you know, it makes it look a little bit bigger, and that's camera cages. So camera cages are useful in general, but for the most part, a lot of times I will say I see people hyping them up like you need it, when in reality, it just adds more weight. And unless you're really utilizing it, meaning you're using it to adapt monitors, you're using it to adapt, for example, accessories that obviously won't work with your camera without the cage, yes. But I'm gonna say 9 out of 10 times, I always see an A6300 with a cage, but there's nothing adapted to it. So it's just kind of like,
They're used for the wrong reasons, that's for sure. And the next thing, I'm ready to move on, is to drones. I love drones.
Me too.
I've already owned the Phantom 3 Pro. I've owned the Phantom 4 Pro.
Wow.
I just recently traveled into Europe with my friend's Mavic Pro, the original OG one. They're dope. I love them.
Right.
You really can't get anything else like that unless you're pointing a fancy camera out of a helicopter, and we all know that ain't cheap. But the thing is, a lot of YouTubers and filmmakers act like it's an essential part of your toolkit. It's really not. If you're shooting films, documentaries, anything like that, maybe it could be your opening shot, but if you're doing more than that, realistically, I may say you're overusing it. Because you need to act like it's that cherry on top, that additional establishing piece.
You know what? It kind of reminds me of when sliders were a thing. Like when, well, I mean, sliders have always existed, but when it's one of those pieces of tools where like you start seeing somebody promote it or just like use it, and then everybody, all you see is like, here's the thing, like I remember videos where everybody was like, every shot was like sliding after sliding after sliding.
Videos, bro.
Right, it was like sliding after sliding. I feel like that's kind of with drones for a while. Although I have seen it kind of cut down a little bit.
It's made the shift to more of an accessory shot, which it should be. In my opinion, I just feel like a lot of people act like you have to have a drone.
Yes.
And that isn't necessarily the case. A lot of this stuff is the same thing. You don't have to have every piece of gear in order to be a true filmmaker. You need to be able to buy the tools that work for your style. Get the things that are actually going to be improving your specific video.
Which we actually talked about, underrated gear.
Exactly. That video turned out great. We talked about a bunch of really cool things that aren't necessarily spoken of all that much. So if you want to check out some cool gear that should actually improve your stuff, go and check it out. I'll have it linked down in the description below. It's on Armando's channel. We had a fun time doing that.
Yeah, that was great.
But thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like it. And that's pretty much all we have for today. See you guys.